What's up YouTube? Today I was partaking in Team KYP's dubbed scrub tournament. Sadly I did not place very high. In fact I placed last. Some bad draws led to that. But anyway, in today's tournament I partaked with my Magician Girl deck. It's the one deck that got me back into the game. Runs a lot of magician supports, and with the engine of the Magician Girls, rapid swarms with attack traps. It brings out a lot of field control and a lot of field domination. It's really good. It brought me back into the game. I found the cards throughout the Dark Side of Dimensions pack from the movie, so without further ado, let's get into the profile. Alright, so to begin the deck profile, we run 3 copies of Dark Magician Girl. Star of the deck, main center, main focus. Love the OG artwork. Gets 300 attack for every Dark Magician in the grave, which is why we run triple Dark Magician. Some people run 2, I prefer 3. Perfect for rank 7 summons. Also benefits in the graveyard. Very good card to have. Getting into the Magician Girl engine, we have triple Berry Magician Girl. Berry Magician Girl is one of your search cards. Use normal summon her. You get to select one Magician Girl from your deck and add it to your hand. Normally in this kind of a situation you want to search out Chocolate, Dark Magician Girl, or Kiwi Magician Girl, depending on your situation. If she's selected for an attack target, she gets to switch her battle position and you get to special summon a Magician Girl from your deck. So if you have her on the field, someone attacks her, she goes to defense, you get to special summon someone like Dark Magician Girl, now you have a 2000 attack point monster. Moving into the next monster, you have triple Chocolate Magician Girl. Chocolate Magician Girl is by far one of my personal favorites in the deck. Rank 4, good for those kind of average rank 4 XCs. With her effect, you can discard a spellcaster type monster from your hand to get a bonus draw. So if you open up, say, a Chocolate Magician Girl and a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl in your hand, you summon her, you discard them. And her second effect is that if she's selected as an attack target, you get to select one spellcaster type monster from your graveyard and have your opponent now attack that monster, and their attacking monster loses half of their attack points. So in that case scenario, you bring Dark Magician Girl out, they lose half their attack points, and now they have to deal with a 2000 attack monster. Great card overall. Next Magician Girl you want to run 3 of is triple Kiwi Magician Girl. Kiwi Magician Girl is like the honest of the deck. You discard her and all your Magician Girls on the field gain 300 attack and defense points for every unique Magician Girl that's on the field or in the graveyard. So with each new Magician Girl there's a total of 5 plus Dark Magician Girl and Magician Girl Dragon Knight, which I'll get into the extra deck after, so that's a total of 7 different monsters. If you have a combination of them on the field or in the graveyard, that's at least 2100 attack points as a bonus. The best part is that you can stack them, so then they'll get 4200 attack and defense points, which goes into some pretty heavy OTKs. Her secondary effect is not used too often. Her secondary effect is that when she's brought out onto the field, she basically protects your spellcaster type monsters from being targeted or even being destroyed by card effects. The last 2 Magician Girls we run in this deck is 1 copy of Apple and 1 copy of Lemon. The reason why I run 1 copy of each in these decks is because Apple and Lemon are very situational. With Apple Magician Girl, if she's destroyed and sent to the graveyard by battle or by a card effect, you get to select 3 different Magician Girls from your graveyard and add them to your hand. So it's like a quick refresh if you're running low. If she's selected as an attack target, you get to special summon 1 Magician Girl from your hand to the field and half the attack as well, except the Magician Girl has to be a level 5 or below. So that means anything from Kiwi down. Lemon Magician Girl is kind of similar. Her first effect is that you get to tribute 1 Magician Girl on the field, except Lemon Magician Girl, and search for caster type monster from your deck. So she's kind of a search. Her secondary effect is kind of like Apple's, but instead of a Magician Girl you get to bring a spellcaster from your hand to the field and half the attack. The only drawback is that the summoned spellcaster loses its effect. Its effect is negated. So in most situations you want to say play her if you have, say, Dark Magician in your hand. That way you don't have to worry about any of FX being shot down.
Oh, but he's not going to be the magician of high attack and defense anymore then.
True enough. Getting into the Magician search engine, we play Triple Magician Rod. This card, just one normal summon, you get to search for your spell cards and trap cards.
So OP.
So OP. You search for your spell or trap card that has Dark Magician in its text, which we will get into after. The other thing is that if you play a card effect on your opponent's turn and he's in your graveyard, you get to sacrifice a spellcaster type monster and bring him back to your hand. So if you have a monster that you can recycle, you can sacrifice them and bring Rod back to your hand, and then on your next turn you can start spell searching. Going into spells, I have 2 copies of Secret Vigil the Spellcasters. This field spell just basically puts your enemy on lockdown. When it's played and you have a spellcaster on the field, your opponent cannot activate any spell cards. In this case, it would be good against like pendulum monsters or decks that are very heavy required on spell cards. So long as they don't have a spellcaster type monster, they can't play anything. So it's a really good card. Next up, I run 2 copies of Dark Magic Veil. It's a good card to have if you only have, like, say, high, like Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl in an opening hand. If you have this in there, you just pay 1,000 life points and get to special summon a Dark Spellcaster type monster from your hand or the graveyard. Good way to recycle Dark Magician, Dark Magician Girl, or open up with a very powerful monster. Next card, I run 2 copies of Eye of Timaeus. I got this card recently from my good friend, and this card just basically is a great card for Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl. It acts like a polymerization.
It's almost like a super polymerization. Just like,
you basically just get to fusion summon.
Yeah. Well, you don't get the fuse off this, but it's just it lets you get a fusion monster based on like whatever, like Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl.
Really good card to have. So you get to bring out like Dark Magician Girl, Dragonite, or other requirements for that. Moving into the next one, I recently added 1 copy of Sage's Stone. The reason why I added this card is because since you're running a Dark Magician Girl engine, you have a lot of ways to get Dark Magician Girl out early. And if you get her out early and you have this card in your hand, it's a quick way to bring out Dark Magician. So really neat, really handy. The next cards I play is 1 copy of Dark Burning Attack and 1 copy of Dark Magic Attack. Some people prefer running a couple copies of Dark Burning Magic, but as said by a couple of help, that card is kind of hard for requiring setup because you can't guarantee keeping Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl on the field at the exact same time. Because in some scenarios they can Solemn Warning, Solemn Strike, just negate it. So for the most part, Dark Burning Attack, if you have Dark Magician Girl on the field, you can nuke your opponent's front line off. And if you have Dark Magician, then you get to nuke the back line. Next card, I run 1 copy of Dark Magical Circle. Really fantastic card to have. Once activated, you get to excavate the top 3 cards of your deck. If you have a Dark Magician monster or a spell or trap that has Dark Magician in its text, you get to add it to your hand and then rearrange the order of the next draw. And since you're with Chocolate Magician Girl, you have some draw power in this deck, you really get to decide what your next draw is. And even if you don't get a Dark Magician card, you still get to rearrange your order, so it's still a good way to rearrange.
You used to have this set too, eh? You want to explain why you changed it?
The reason why I had changed it to 1 is because I felt in most duels, I only would use 1. For the most part, some people do get the early Twin Twister, but you mainly use it to excavate in this deck, see what you can get, and rearrange your draws. To keep it on there is a really good handy thing. And its secondary effect is really good too, especially when you get to normal summon or special summon a Dark Magician. You get to select 1 card your opponent has on their field and just straight up banish it. So it's a good card to have overall. You don't want to clog the deck with too much Dark Magician support, otherwise you're leaning more towards the Dark Magician archetype. And since I'm sticking with the girls, gotta keep it at that.
Yugi's hoes.
The next card I run is 1 copy of Dark Magic Expand. Dark Magic Expand is a really handy card to have. Some people don't run it and I can kind of see why, but I prefer using it. Basically, if you have a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl on your field or in the graveyard, depending on the copies, you get to use some of the following effects, but you mainly use it for its first effect to slam 1,000 attack points on a Dark Spellcaster type monster. So if your opponent is, say, attacking Dark Magician Girl and you have this card face down, you can raise her attack points to 3,000 during the damage step and they can't call the attack back from there. So it's a really good card to have. Next up, I run 1 copy of Illusion Magic. This card really sets up some plays, especially with the Magician's Navigation Trap card. You get to sacrifice a monster and add up to 2 copies of Dark Magician from your from your deck or the graveyard to your hand. From there, it's all about thinking about future plays, such as getting them to the hand and then discarding them for Chocolate Magician Girl's effect. Easiest ways to go through there. The last spell card I run is 1 copy of Dark Magic Inheritance. You get to banish 2 spell cards from your graveyard, but you get to search your deck for a spell card or trap card that has Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl in its text. So with this card, you can banish a couple useless spell cards that you've already used and not recycle, and you get to bring out anything from your Dark Magic Attack, your Dark Burning Magic, your Sage's Stone, anything that has any of that. Moving into the traps, I have 2 copy of Magician's Navigation. If you have a Dark Magician in your hand, you get to special summon him. You then get to special summon 1 level 7 or lower Dark Spellcaster type monster from your deck to the field as well. This is how you get either 2 Dark Magicians on your field or Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl at the same time. The secondary effect of the Magician's Navigation card is that you can banish it from your graveyard in order to negate a face-up card. So if your opponent just say you go in for an attack, they activate say Mirror Force as a sheer example. So now that it's turned face up, you can banish it from your graveyard and negate it. So it kind of does that little life-saving kind of moments. This trap card I run is 2 copies of Dark Renewal. Pretty standard for any kind of magician-oriented deck. Your opponent then say normal summons or special summons. If you have a spellcaster, you sacrifice your spellcaster and your opponent's summoned monster. They're both sent to the graveyard, and then you can special summon a Dark Spellcaster type monster. So really you can bring out Dark Magician, Dark Magician Girl, all depends on the situation. The last 3 trap cards I run in this deck is 1 copy of Mirror Force.
Because Mirror Force.
Because Mirror Force, let's nuke the enemy field of all their attacking monsters. 1 bottomless trap hole for just banishing any high monster. And then Solemn Warning because Solemn Warning.
Yeah,
I would have Strike in there, but sadly I don't have any Strike. So Warning will have to do for now.
Strike's like a $40-$50 card right now.
Jesus Christ, so high on there. So moving on from there, we're going into the extra deck. Now sadly my extra deck, like others, is not as complete, but I'm thinking about what to get along the way. So for opening, I run 1 copy of Dark Magician Girl Dragon Knight. Goes with Eye of Timaeus, pretty strong monster, counts as a Magician Girl monster, so you get to boost it with Kiwi Magician Girl's effect. And her effect is pretty dang good as well. You discard a card, and then you can destroy 1 face-up card your opponent controls. So you can get rid of Pesky Fields, Pesky Continuous, or just destroy a monster and go in for a direct attack. Next up we have 1 copy of Amulet Dragon. Amulet Dragon goes well with the Dark Magician with Eye of Timaeus as well. Basically when he's summoned you get to banish spell cards from both your graveyards, a minimum of 1, but you can go to a huge cap and he gains a 100 attack for each one. So I mainly use him when you have in say the mid or the late part of the duel and your opponent has spell cards in their graveyard and you have more spell cards in the graveyard, and you could just banish them and then just gain very incredible high attack power.
I always like that. I always like the Eye of Timaeus when Yugi's called it. I was like, the Eye of Timaeus.
The last card that we use with the last card we use with the whole fusion with the Eye of Timaeus is also situational, but also very beat stick. Is 1 copy of Dark Paladin. Dark Paladin is that 1 monster that gains 500 attack points for every dragon on the field and each other's graveyards. So in most meta decks nowadays, with
Red
eyes, blue eyes, odd eyes, dragon, pendulum ones. With all of those, you get to gain all that extra attack power. And you can also discard one card from your hand to negate a spell card your opponent activates. And that's anytime they do. So long as you have a card and they activate a spell card, you can just discard it and just negate it. In most situations, a spell card can change the games. So moving on to Xyz monsters, I run one copy of Ebon Illusion Magician. Very nice card to have. Perfect for rank summoning with Dark Magician. Normally when you summon him with Dark Magician, I remove one of his materials and special summon another Dark Magician from my hand or the deck. So now your opponent has to now deal with two 2500 attack point monsters from the get-go. The secondary effect is also pretty good as well. You declare an attack with a spellcaster type monster and you could banish a card that your opponent controls. So you can have one of your weaker spellcaster type monsters declare an attack on your opponent's stronger monster, activate his effect and have it banished, and then just move in for all the direct attacks. So it's a very good card to have all around. Next I run one copy of Ebon High Magician. Also a very good card to have and very protective as well. Very good defense points, and with his effect you can activate quick play spell cards and trap cards on your opponent's turn from the hand. So that means you don't have to risk setting them for twin twisters. And all you have to do is discard a material. I did this once before against someone and just made them just absolute upset. They went in for attack and I just got rid of one of his materials and played Mirror Force from my hand, and their entire field was just gone of monsters. And they were not happy to see that. So
wait, it says you can play
quick play spell cards and trap cards from your hand during your opponent's turn.
I didn't trap. Oh jeez. Okay. I was like quick play traps. Like, doesn't exist. I was like, okay, yeah. So traps. Yeah, that's crazy.
So you can keep your bottomless in your hand, your soul of mourning. All you have to do is just get rid of a material. His secondary effect is also pretty handy as well. Basically, if he gets destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you get to special summon a dark spellcaster type monster from the graveyard to the field. So if you have a Dark Magician girl in there, bring her back, because definitely she's gonna be more powerful with two Dark Magicians in the graveyard in there. And if you have all three, well, then she's 2900. Now your opponent has to deal with that. For rank 6 Xyz, I run one copy of Marito, Moral Leader. When you have two Dark Magician girls on the field, this card is a nice card to have. Great attack points and a pretty great effect as well. Keeping him on the field is a must for the most part. Because if you go into battle and your opponent wants to activate a card during either player's turn, you can discard a material from Naruto to negate the activation of a spell or trap card that your opponent just did. So it's nice to have on there, especially if your opponent wants to play some sneaky trap cards on you. And then lastly, for rank 4s, these two are mainly situational depending on it, but I run one copy of Dark Rebellion XYZ Dragon and one copy of number 103 Ragna Zero. For the most part, you want to run the XYZ Rebellion Dragon. I run him more than Ragna Zero. Ragna Zero is very situational, but I'll get to that after. People should already know what Dark Rebellion Dragon does. You discard both the materials, take half the attack points from one of your opponent's monsters, add it to him, and then you could just do some pretty insane damage. Ragna Zero, I run against certain archetype decks that are more boosting for the attack, because with her effect, you can discard a material and destroy one monster your opponent controls whose attack points is different from its original. So there are some really, really weird cases where you can get these two on the field, and I mean really rare, and if you can get them both on the field, well, then you just have something going on there, and you could just do that. But for the most part, yeah. And that's it for the extra deck, and that's it for my Magician Girls. Like, comment, and subscribe for Team KYP.
Thank you, and out.